Potential is one of the most dangerous words in the human language, not because it is false, but because it is comforting. It gives people a reason to delay action while still feeling special. When someone is told, "You have so much potential," what they often hear is, "You don't need to act yet." Potential creates a psychological illusion. It convinces the mind that future success is guaranteed, even when present discipline is absent. This is why some of the most talented, intelligent, and gifted people never reach extraordinary outcomes. They confuse ability with execution. Potential without structure becomes a mental trap. It creates a false sense of security. The person believes that talent will save them later, that opportunities will come naturally, that effort can be postponed. Over time, this belief becomes identity. I'm someone who could be great, instead of I'm someone who is becoming great. The mind loves this identity because it avoids pain. Acting consistently is painful. Failing publicly is painful. Being average despite effort is painful. Potential allows people to feel superior without suffering. This is why highly talented individuals often struggle more than average ones. Average people know they must work. Talented people believe they are exempt, at least subconsciously. Another danger of potential is comparison. When you know you are capable of more, every small failure feels heavier. Every delay feels shameful. Instead of motivating action, this creates paralysis. The person begins to avoid challenges to protect the image of being gifted. Over time, potential becomes a burden. Expectations grow. Pressure builds. Fear increases. And eventually, the individual stops trying altogether, not because they lack ability, but because they fear confirming their worst suspicion, that potential alone is meaningless. The tragedy is not wasted talent. The tragedy is a wasted life lived in anticipation rather than execution. Asterisk discipline is not glamorous. It does not feel intelligent. It does not make you feel special. Discipline is repetitive, boring, and often invisible. That is exactly why talented people resist it. Talent seeks expression. Discipline demands submission. One feeds the ego, the other challenges it. When a person relies on talent alone, they build a fragile system. Everything works when conditions are perfect. But life is never perfect. Pressure, rejection, fatigue, and failure eventually appear. And when they do, talent has no defense mechanism. Discipline builds emotional tolerance. It teaches the nervous system how to operate under discomfort. It trains the brain to continue despite resistance. Without discipline, the first sign of difficulty feels overwhelming. Another reason talented people fail is identity attachment. They don't want to be seen as beginners. They don't want to struggle publicly. They expect fast results because they believe they are above average. When reality doesn't match expectation, frustration replaces curiosity. This leads to quitting patterns, starting projects enthusiastically, abandoning them silently, repeating the cycle. Each time, confidence erodes further. Discipline, on the other hand, creates momentum independent of emotion. It does not ask, "Do I feel inspired?" It asks, "What is the next required action?" This removes negotiation from progress. Talented people also tend to overthink. High intelligence increases mental noise. Too many options, too many strategies, too much planning. Action gets delayed in the search for the perfect approach. Discipline simplifies. It reduces decision-making. It creates systems instead of relying on motivation. This is why less talented but disciplined individuals often outperform gifted ones over time. Talent is explosive. Discipline is sustainable, and sustainability always wins. Asterisk. The moment potential becomes dangerous is the moment it is left unmanaged. But when directed correctly, potential becomes an amplifier, not a replacement for effort, a multiplier of it. The first step is humility, accepting that talent does not entitle you to results, accepting that mastery requires repetition, accepting that boredom is part of growth. This humility destroys entitlement and creates learning capacity. The second step is structure. High potential individuals need systems more than motivation. Clear routines, non-negotiable schedules, defined output goals. Structure protects talent from emotional fluctuation. The third step is identity shift. Stop identifying as talented and start identifying as consistent. Consistency builds trust with yourself. Trust builds confidence. Confidence fuels execution. Another critical shift is redefining failure. For talented people, failure feels like identity collapse. This must change. Failure is not proof of limitation, it is proof of engagement. No execution, no failure. No failure, no growth. You must also intentionally place yourself in environments where talent is common and discipline is respected. Comfort kills potential. Pressure sharpens it. The final transformation occurs when action becomes more important than self-image. When progress matters more than praise. When results replace validation. At that point, potential stops being a promise and starts becoming a weapon, and the most powerful realization comes last. The world does not reward potential, it rewards proof. Talent opens the door. Discipline keeps it open. Execution builds the empire. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Regret does not arrive suddenly. It grows silently, year by year, decision by decision. For people with high potential, regret is especially dangerous because it does not come from failure. It comes from inaction. Most people regret mistakes. Talented people regret chances they never took. At first, potential feels exciting. You are praised for your intelligence, creativity, or ability. People say, "You'll do something big one day." That praise becomes a psychological cushion. It delays urgency. Why rush today when greatness is expected tomorrow? Years pass. Life becomes complex. Responsibilities increase. Comfort grows. And slowly, the window for bold action begins to close. This is where regret begins its quiet work. You start comparing yourself not with others, but with the version of yourself you imagined. That comparison is painful. You know what you could have done. You know what you avoided. You know the effort you postponed. Regret feeds on awareness. Unlike ignorance, which is peaceful, awareness without action creates inner conflict. The mind constantly reminds you of unfinished potential. This creates anxiety, dissatisfaction, and bitterness. Another danger is rationalization. High potential individuals are excellent at explaining their lack of action. They justify delay with logic. Timing wasn't right. Conditions weren't perfect. Responsibilities were too heavy. Opportunities weren't ideal. These explanations feel intelligent, but they are emotional defenses. Over time, regret transforms into identity erosion. You stop trusting yourself. You stop setting ambitious goals. You lower expectations to avoid disappointment. You become cautious, not because you lack ability, but because you fear confirming the truth. The worst stage of regret is when potential becomes nostalgia. When people say, "I used to be really good at that," or "At one time, I could have gone far." This is the graveyard of unrealized lives. Regret is not loud. It whispers every night. It appears in moments of silence. It grows stronger when effort disappears. The tragedy is not that potential fades. The tragedy is that people let it fade without resistance. Asterisk. Escaping the potential trap requires one brutal realization. You are not special for what you could do. You are only valuable for what you repeatedly execute. This realization hurts the ego, and that is why it works. The first step out of the trap is accepting discomfort as a requirement, not an obstacle. Growth feels awkward. Progress feels slow. Mastery feels boring before it feels powerful. Talented people must relearn how to be beginners. The second step is lowering the emotional importance of results and increasing the importance of process. Stop asking, "Will this succeed?" Start asking, "Did I show up today?" Consistency neutralizes fear. Another critical shift is public commitment. Potential survives in secrecy. Execution thrives in exposure. When you commit publicly, accountability replaces hesitation. Pressure becomes fuel. You must also redefine your relationship with failure. Failure is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that you are finally operating at the edge of growth. The absence of failure usually means the absence of ambition. To become effective, you must kill perfectionism. Perfectionism is not a standard. It is fear-wearing intelligence. Progress beats perfection every time. Structure is essential. Set fixed times for work. Fixed rules for behavior. Fixed minimum standards. Remove decision fatigue. Reduce thinking. Increase doing. Another powerful step is choosing one direction and staying there longer than comfort allows. Potential jumps from interest to interest. Power is built through depth. The final transformation happens when identity changes. You stop seeing yourself as someone with potential and start seeing yourself as someone who finishes. Finish small things. Finish boring things. Finish imperfect things. Finishing rewires the brain. It builds confidence based on evidence, not hope. At that point, potential stops being a burden and becomes an amplifier. Talent finally serves execution instead of replacing it. And this is the ultimate truth. The world does not punish lack of talent. It punishes lack of courage to act consistently. Potential is common. Discipline is rare. Execution is unstoppable.